Across the globe, there are countless stories of people who vanish without a trace, leaving their loved ones desperate for answers. Some of these disappearances are shrouded in mystery, while others have theories that will make your skin crawl. Today, we dive into three of the most baffling missing persons cases from around the world. From the deserts of Australia to the jungles of Colombia, these stories will leave you questioning, what really happened? Let's begin. Our first case takes us to Australia, 1967, to be precise. Harold Holt, the country's prime minister at the time, went for a swim at Cheviot Beach near Melbourne. But he never returned. Despite a massive search operation, no sign of him was found. So, what happened? Some say he was caught in a strong rip current and drowned. Others believe he may have been swept out to sea, his body never to be recovered. But the mystery doesn't end there. Conspiracy theories abound, suggesting Holt may have been abducted by a Chinese submarine, or even staged his own disappearance to escape the pressures of leadership. The Australian government officially declared his death by drowning, but the question remains, was it just an accident, or something more sinister? Our second case takes us to West Virginia, USA, Christmas Eve, 1945. The Sauter family was a family of 12 with 10 children. The dad, George, was the owner of his own trucking company called Sauter Trucking Company. He loved working and inventing things to make a job easier. He actually invented the self-propelled drilling head. These are used for mining or foundation construction, and his wife Jenny was a stay-at-home mother due to the amount of children. On the morning of Christmas Eve, the home went up in flames. Not much is known about how the fire was started, but the startling fact is that out of the 10 children and George and Jenny, 5 of the children, Martha, Maurice, Louis, Jenny, and Betty, didn't manage to escape the house when the fire broke out. But when the smoke cleared, only 4 bodies were recovered, and the 5th, who was believed to have perished in the blaze, was never found. However, what makes this case so unsettling is the strange evidence that emerged. No remains were found in the ruins, and witnesses reported seeing the children later that night. The cause of the fire that killed 5 Sauter children was initially determined to be faulty wiring in the family study. However, the Sauters and others have questioned this conclusion, pointing to a number of unusual events that occurred before and during the fire. A stranger visited the home a few months earlier before the fire and pointed to 2 fuse boxes, saying they would cause a fire. Another man threatened George, saying his house would burn down and his children would be destroyed. The family also experienced a faulty phone on the day of the fire. Sauters initially believed the 5 children died in the fire, but later suspected they may have been kidnapped. They received a few leads, including a letter from a woman who claimed to have seen the children with a man named Frank Cipriani, but not much is known about this. Because the Sauters hired a private investigator to track down the man, but he fled with their money. The Sauter family then got so desperate for answers they made the reward for finding any of the children up to $500,000. With today's inflation prices, that's roughly $8,758,361. Some even believe it was an act of arson. Tied to the family's suspected involvement with the Italian mafia, George and Jenny Sauter built a memorial garden at the site of the fire, and Jenny dressed in black for the rest of her life. George died in 1969, and Jenny died in 1989. The remaining Sauter children removed the billboard on State Route 16 in West Virginia from the side of the highway, and the mystery of the missing children remains unsolved. The case remains one of the most bizarre missing persons mysteries in American history. Our final case takes us to Germany in 1984, where a businessman named Karl Dieter, known as Jagdzi due to his nickname, vanished in one of the most eerie disappearances in European history. Just days before his disappearance, Karl Dieter worked at a chemist in Germany. He was last seen in 1984. The details surrounding his disappearance are shrouded in mystery, and there have been several theories about what might have happened to him. Given that he was a professional in a field that could potentially involve sensitive information, he confided to a friend that he had uncovered something dangerous, a corporate conspiracy involving harmful chemicals. He seemed terrified, even suggesting he was being followed. On the night of his disappearance, Yogtse was spotted wandering the streets in a disoriented state, allegedly telling a stranger that he had been attacked by two men. Despite a massive manhunt, he was never found. His car was discovered with his wallet inside, but no trace of him. Some believe he was silenced because he knew too much about the scandal he uncovered. Some speculate that his disappearance could have been linked to industrial or scientific espionage, political involvement, or even personal circumstances. However, there isn't much concrete public information available, and it seems his case has not garnered widespread attention internationally. Local news sources from the time might hold more details, but it doesn't appear to have been a major national story. A possible theory is that Karl Dieter, given that he was a chemist, is that he might have been involved in a project that attracted attention from outside parties, such as corporate or political interests. As far-fetched as this sounds, it is possibly likely, given the Cold War context of the 1980s. There were several incidents where individuals with scientific expertise disappeared or were covertly detained for espionage-related reasons. Another example of a scientist going missing is Dr. Stanley Hall, an American biochemist working on high-level research, went missing in 1981 while he was traveling in the Caribbean. Hall had been conducting research related to the synthesis of pharmaceutical compounds, and some speculate that his disappearance might have been related to his work, though there is no confirmed link. Hall was last seen in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, where he had gone on a research trip. But despite extensive searches, he was never found. Was it foul play or something even more sinister? To this day, no one knows. From the beaches of Australia to the streets of Germany, the stories of these missing people continue to haunt us. Despite years of investigation, we may never know the truth behind what happened to Harold Holt, the Sodder children, Karl Dieter, or Dr. Stanley Hall. It's a chilling reminder that the world still holds mysteries that are yet to be solved. As you leave this video, remember, sometimes the answers we seek may be just out of reach, forever hidden in the shadows. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more unsettling stories from around the world. And if you have any theories about these cases, we'd love to hear them in the comments below.